Hey everybody, it's Rod from the Photo Fair coming at you with another video. Today I want to talk about Canon's new EOS-R mirrorless camera. I mentioned this on my blog, Couve Camera, that both Nikon and Canon have entered the full-frame arena to challenge the dominance of Sony in full-frame mirrorless cameras. Now, Canon has quietly become a serious competitor to Sony in Japan with those EOS-M cameras. They're actually the largest by units volume in Japan for mirrorless cameras. That EOS-M system, once they kind of got over the initial bugs of the first two models, starting with the M3, that camera has really taken off. I'm shooting this video on an EOS M5. So Canon has taken what they've learned with the EOS-M system and applied it now to a full-frame camera. So this EOS-R is the first of two models to come. The rumors say that the next model is going to be a little bit higher end version. I want to talk real quickly about the pros and the cons. The cons are primarily that it doesn't have IBIS, so that's in-body image stabilization. Sony has had that for years, going all the way back to the A7 II in like 2014. A lot of people felt that Canon really should have jumped on with that. Nikon's two new cameras, which, by the way, utilize Sony sensors, so I'd imagine it utilizes Sony's IBIS as well, but they have IBIS. So I think they kind of missed the mark not having IBIS. You know, Canon's kind of an odd duck with their marketing. They know who they want to market to, and I guess they feel that IBIS isn't going to be a big deal in their market. I think they may be proven wrong on that, and they have been proven wrong before. But a lot of people buy these mirrorless cameras because of little adapters like this. This is a Leica M to EOS-R adapter. It was available within the first month of the camera being released. So, and I bought one because I like to use old school glass. As all of you know that follow the Photo Fair and follow my blog, I love this old school glass, like this Leica Summicron 40 right here that I picked up at the last Photo Fair. I can put it right on this camera and it's full frame, so that's kind of cool. A lot of lenses are out there that support Leica's M mount, and of course with a very simple little adapter that's been around for years, you can put screw mount Leica lenses on the M mount as well. So that's a big, huge bonus to mirrorless cameras in general. Sony has an advantage there, as that they've been making these cameras for 5 years, so there is virtually every adapter known to the universe available for the Sony. Some of the more odd adapters are not going to be available right away for this camera. They're going to have to get a few more units out there before those factories over in China are willing to start churning out the adapters. Anyhow, so no IBIS, a little bit of a negative. I'm a little bummed about it, but you know, we'll see if Canon puts IBIS in the higher end version of this camera that's supposed to come out next year. And it might be that they're trying to not infringe on patents and they want to make their own system. Or it might just be that they're being stubborn and they want you to buy Canon IS lenses. Whatever it is, I think they need IBIS. Okay, so that doesn't have that. The other negative is going to be more towards the video people. When you shoot 4K video on this camera, you are going to have a crop factor. And oddly, it's a crop factor of 1.7 rather than a crop factor of 1.6. If it was 1.6, then all your EFS lenses that Canon makes, and they make some good ones, would mount on there and it'd work perfectly. But they went to a 1.7 crop. So that's got a lot of video people kind of irritated. So, positives about the camera. Tilty flippy screen. Okay, something that Sony still doesn't have. Sony people have been begging Sony to put a tilty flippy screen on their A7 cameras, and they haven't done it yet. So Canon comes out. Mark my word, Sony's going to put a tilty flippy screen on like the A7 IV whenever that comes out, because now if they start losing, vloggers and people who want the tilty flippy screen, believe me, the almighty dollar or the almighty yen, as the case may be, will prevail, and they will come out with that. But it's kind of sad that they had to wait, until a competitor did it. What are you going to do? So Canon did it. They did the tilty flippy screen. I like it. I've always liked tilty flippy screens. The positive on this camera, it has the protective shutter here. So when you take your lens off and the camera power's off, the shutter kind of closes down, kind of keeps dust off the sensor. I kind of like that feature. That's pretty nice. Okay, so the focus system on this, I am happy to report it is fast, it is accurate, it is amazing. 5,400 plus focus points, more than any other camera. Mirrorless cameras have always had the advantage of focusing directly off the sensor rather than DSLRs, which have to focus through a mechanism up in the optic system. And that system is never perfectly aligned with the sensor, so you always had to make those micro adjustments for each lens, and that was kind of a pain in the butt. So you never have to do that with a mirrorless camera. And that's true with Sony and Nikon or any other mirrorless camera as well. It focuses right off the sensor, so you don't have to worry about having the lenses perfectly aligned with the sensor. They always are. Other advantages just to mirrorless in general, electronic viewfinders, they are no longer a negative, they are a positive. It used to be a negative because the resolution was, maybe 1 million dots. You could see the dot matrix in there. They were really slow. When you move the camera, you'd get this kind of jitter in the viewfinder. None of that did you ever have with optical viewfinders. Well, now these viewfinders, the electronics are so fast, there's really no issue with jittery vision through the viewfinder, and it's really nice because in low light situations, the viewfinder elevates its brightness to compensate, so you can see in really low light situations, whereas with an SLR, you just can't. And for manual focus applications in low light, it's night and day, pardon the pun. This is going to kick the crap out of any SLR manual focus in low light, period. It's going to crush it. If you like to shoot in environments, nightclubs, dark environments, museums, this kind of thing, yeah, mirrorless is the way you want to go. A couple of interesting features that separate the EOS-R from Nikon and Sony. This little bit right here, this little bar. Now, some of the reviewers didn't like this. If you set this up and leave it active, yeah, your thumb is gonna land. If I can get up there and show you here, your thumb is gonna land right there. Okay, so you'll be moving it all the time, and I get that that's kind of a pain in the butt. But they have a setting whereby you activate it by holding the far left portion of it, which is a bit of a reach. For me, it's not a reach at all. But for some people, it might be a bit of a reach. But you just kind of hold it to the left. A little status indicator kind of goes zzz, and then it unlocks it, and then you can flip it. And it's like a slide bar. It's almost like flipping through screens on a tablet or a phone. It's pretty cool. I use it currently for the ISO. It is customizable, so you can use it almost for anything you want. So I like it. It's a cool feature. It takes a little bit getting used to. For me, I definitely had it where I have to unlock it. I'm a guy that used to use the wheel on the back. This camera no longer has that, which is kind of a bummer. But this wheel up here, right here, is exposure compensation by default, and that's what I use it for. And my thumb is right there. I can just flip it back and forth really quickly. So I kind of like that about the camera. This camera has a really nice big grip, which I like. So one of the complaints that I've heard out there is that it's a single card slot, not a dual card slot. At the price point that Canon is marketing this camera, they're really not marketing it at the 5D Mark IV level. That's the DSLR currently kind of, prosumer camera that they have. And that was a $3,500 camera at launch. It's selling for around $3,000 now. Still quite a bit more than the $2,295 that Canon wants for this EOS-R. So honestly, at this price point, is a dual card slot expected? Sony does give you a dual card slot in the Sony A7 III. Which is similarly priced at $2,000. So is that really a big deal? I don't think so. Now, if they come out with a $3,000 or $3,500 version of this camera, which rumors are they are going to have kind of a more pro version, I think they better put a second card slot in there, or they're going to have some angry clients. But for me, I'm okay with the single card slot. I've been working with that with every other camera except my 5D Mark III, which had dual card slot, and I honestly didn't need the dual card slot very often. There were a handful of times where I was mixing video and stills, and I had the video go on the one card and the stills go on the other, but for the most part, it's not a big deal to me. I get that it's a big deal to some others out there, especially working pros, the guys shooting the Super Bowl and so on, but I don't think this camera is going to be at the Super Bowl, but future professional versions of this camera will need to have dual card slots, higher frame rate, you know, and even better weather sealing than this has. So that's really all I got. It's just a little introduction. I give this camera a solid A, though. I think they did a brilliant job on it. I like its price point, and $22.95. I like the fact that my full suite of EF lenses works on this camera, and I have not been able to measure any loss of speed or performance in any way, shape, or form. They perform better on this camera than they did on my 5D Mark III, and quite frankly, they probably perform better than they will on a 5D Mark IV. Okay, because focusing right off the sensor is the better way to go. So kudos to Canon. They've entered the full frame mirrorless space, and you can do some real fun stuff with a mirrorless camera body. If you're thinking about making the move to, say, a Canon 6D, I would go play with this camera at the local camera shop, because you might want to get this instead of a 6D, and you definitely might want to get this instead of a 5D Mark IV. So it's fantastic. Hey, the next photo fair coming up in February. I'm excited about that. It's still a couple months out. There's lots of camera shows all around the country. They're great. You can play with the products right there at the show. Talk to guys that are real knowledgeable about it. It's a lot of fun. Something like an EOS-R, you're probably going to go to your local pro camera shop to check that out. But once you get your hands on one of these mirrorless cameras, you definitely want to come to shows like the photo fair and check out old school glass like these Leica lenses. This thing will open up a whole new world of cool photographic opportunities because of that shallow flange distance, allowing you to use old school lenses on the camera body. And that's been a big deal for me for a long, long time, and will continue to be a big deal to me and to a lot of people that kind of want to shoot with you know, lenses that have character. So hope to see you at the next photo fair in February. Until the next video, thanks for watching. See you next time.